Literally as I roll up, the sun goes away, and I was just gonna say welcome to sunny Laverack, but now that's not happened. So back to what I was originally going to talk about. Just done a 20-minute FTP test, and I want to share the results with you. Average power 358, which is 20 watts exactly higher than what I did around about a week and a half ago on Zwift. I did the Zwift ramp test. If you watched that went down. Well, I mean, it went down. I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't do exceptionally well at it. But 20 watts is like just a smidge over 10%. Sorry, 5%. So it's like 6 or 7% more I've done today in a week and a half. That's not down to training or like fitness improvement, because as you know, it takes a while for, it takes you a while to adapt to training. So that wouldn't have happened because I haven't trained anything specific, or I haven't trained like in that month previous to that first test either. So the change wouldn't have happened that quick in a week and a half. That's generally the difference me doing it on the road makes, plus doing the 20-minute test. I'm a lot better at doing a 20-minute test than a ramp test, and I'm also a lot better than doing efforts out on the road than I am indoors. The road that I chose to do it on was Pembrey Flats, which is like, for those of you that know where the Tour of Britain started a couple of years ago, it started in Pembrey Country Park. The Flats was like the very first kind of 10k of that first stage, and it's like there's a roundabout, so you can do it out in the back, and it's a 10-mile course. So that's the course I generally use, and the Goa course, which is all the way out there. If the weather's right, I do it out there. In other words, if there's no wind, but most of the time I'll do it on that flat course. In terms of pacing it, because of course, like I knew that a week and a half ago I managed to do 339 or whatever it was, or 338. Pacing it basically means if you know roughly where you can ride at, and you try and ride for that for the majority of that 20 minutes. So for myself, I rode maybe the first 10 minutes at around 340, but I knew immediately that I'd be able to do more than that, just by the whole breathing and everything. And then like the last kind of 10 minutes, it was like a slow ramp, and if you follow me on Strava, which I hope you do, you'll see all of that on there. You'll be able to see, the exact pacing technique, and you'll be able to see my heart rate rising. That's if my heart rate monitor wasn't playing up. But yeah, that was good. Like, that's a really good benchmark. It's 20 watts more than obviously last week, but it's also like around about 20 watts more than what we've done this time of the year, any year for the last few years, which is a huge bonus. But that's not to say we're in good shape at all. Like, we're still like 40 watts away from my best 20-minute. So there's plenty of boxes to still tick. In terms of like testing for my 5-minute power, because I know some of you may think that like the Sufferfest and Trainer Road, they tend to test for those things on the same days. I won't do that, even though I'm doing the Zwift event tonight, a Zwift race, the Fusion League, which I've been doing every Tuesday night, and I also live stream it. There's 2 5-minute climbs up like the Box Hill circuit in London on there tonight. But I can make an educated guess actually as to what my 5-minute will be. Not that I'll be testing it tonight in that race, but I know I'll come pretty close probably, because there'll be maximum efforts. But I can make an educated guess based on the last few years power data and roughly where my 5-minute settles in comparison to my 20-minute, and it's anywhere between kind of 60 watts. Yeah, I'd say about 60 watts. So right now it's probably like 420, and in my peak it's been 450 with a 20-minute of like 390. So if I went to a 20-minute of 400, I haven't tested my 5-minute for a while, but you can make an educated guess that it's like 460-ish, because that will improve just ever so slightly. Yeah, that's it. what's going to follow now is a bit of a mishmash. It's like a video that I recorded a few days ago while I was out on a ride around Newport and Cardiff area, and I talk about some fitness stuff there, so I hope you stay tuned for that bit. But yeah, at least we're set now, and we can, like, you know, all the training is kind of laid out. I know where I'm going, and we can take the next step.
One thing I hate about Cardiff, not the time it takes to get out of the bloody city. Every traffic light. So tactically come out today with less layers on. I've actually only got 2 long sleeve layers on, and that's including a merino base layer. It's nice, it's not raining, it is cold though, and my thinking is that I'll be more inclined to press on and like do the efforts properly because I'm cold. So I'm just getting back into training now, so even though if you've probably seen on Strava, I've been riding quite regularly anyway, but just nothing really structured. But now I'm back into training, at least with some short efforts, and not exactly hard, but kind of today I'm doing like 3-minute efforts. They're quite punchy at the start. Not really aiming for any power, but quick recovery, 10-20 seconds, and then straight into what I think is roughly around my threshold. And the reason why I'm like, I don't exactly know where my threshold is, because even though I did a Zwift RAM test recently, I'm not quite convinced that it was accurate, because I'm outside them and then I'm kind of riding, not right now obviously, but I was doing 350 watts and it feels okay. My heart rate's all climbing out of control, feels fine. So yeah, I'm taking it with a pinch of salt. So until I do a 20-minute test, out on the road, you know, we'll know for certain. Well, I just realised which road this is. This like lane, don't know if you can see because the sun's quite strong, but actually you can see it looks pretty killer from here. That climb there, we used to come down that, and yeah, we were here for the Junior Worlds training camp for GB, obviously, based in Newport. We did this very circuit but the other way around, so we came down this hill. Wow, that's bringing back memories. It's an incredible circuit, like really grippy, and we just ended up doing like a structured chain gang around there as like a group of 12 or whatever there was, all fighting for selection for the Junior Worlds. I didn't get in, by the way. So if you're on Twitter, you might have seen an article that I wrote, a journal article that I've kind of done for the last 12 months with the British Continental on Twitter, and it's been a really interesting read. Actually, it's had quite a bit of interest from people, because I was basically talking about like what a real off-season means, and why it's not so much, it's always been termed this thing where riders take, you know, a big chunk of time off at the end of the year. If you want to read it, just search British Continental on Twitter, you'll find it, no problem. It's like one of their latest tweets. But it's something that obviously I've always been kind of going away from the norm. The hill climbing stuff has shown that. Next year will show that as well. But it's funny, like I've obviously lost, you know, all that kind of race sharpness since, you know, the end of October or even September, if you count the endurance race sharpness as well. But you know, I feel pretty good, and the reason why I'm like an advocate for ticking over and like not so much killing yourself, but just doing some intervals. It's still good for you, still good for the body. It's just to not let that get out of control too much. I think, say for example, you know, a lot of us use training peaks and, you know, say our fitness is at 100, you know, it could be 120, but for argument's sake, let's say it's 100. You have your off season and it goes down to 60, and then when you start back training, in the UK at least, you're desperately trying to get back up to 100 in the next 2 or 3 months during the winter. And an increase, you know, that large, I don't think there's many riders that can cope with it, because it's a fair amount of fitness you're trying to gain, and you might end up like getting sick or just getting like demotivated because of the weather. And what I thought was, why not just let it be a controlled drop to like 80, and then just like gradually take 3 or 4 months to get to 100, rather than trying to get there in 2 months. And it's something that, yeah, I've implemented now, and I feel good, but with hardly any training. And there's something about like that in itself is freshening and motivating. And I think for me, if I try to, you know, come back after an off season, I feel very demotivated, to say the least. I don't know if you heard that. He basically said get on the cycle path. If he came back, I'd tell him why. You know, I can't get where I want to go on the cycle path. Simple as that. Don't tell me, tell the government. I gotta apologise because I feel like I'm spitting a lot of facts right now, but it's probably not, it's just stuff coming out of my head. But I have these moments when I think of things, and I'm like, I gotta share it. So basically, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Like, there's more than one way to know if you're fit or not. And that's not just, oh, I could do 400 watts in 20 minutes. Some of you are gonna laugh at that, and I know who you are. But it's not just that, it's like, so how quick can you recover from doing whatever effort it is and doing it again? There's always other ways of testing yourself. It's not just a case of, you know, I could do 3 by 20 minute sweet spot efforts, you know, during the winter. People are like, oh, I'm training too hard. I'm like, yeah, but there's still loads of scope to improve there. It's not like the hardest session. I could, like, instead of having 20 minutes of rest between them in the winter, in the summer I just have 5 minutes. Like, there's always differences. There's always ways to improve and push yourself on that recovery part. You recover quicker as you get faster, and it's always worth utilising that as much as possible. Oh, look at this view! Absolutely no idea where I am. I know where I am now. In Caerphilly. Pretty sweet castle here, if you've never been here before. Pretty nice, right?